In ancient times, many cultures used menstrual blood for femininity and love spells. Rituals involving blood were common in practices like voodoo, a traditional West African religion, and paganism, an umbrella term for smaller non-Abrahamic religions commonly practiced in ancient Europe. So the legend goes, if you feed a man your menstrual blood, he will be devoted and bound to you forever, or for as long as you're feeding him your blood. And so the question is, how does this work? Why would this work? Who the sat down and decided to feed their menstrual blood to their partner, accidentally found out that they became attached to them, and then passed on that information to all the other women in the village? Let's take a step back and look at the roots of menstruation. Menstruation is when blood from the shedding of the uterine walls is discharged, usually every month, and the bleeding can last anywhere from 5 to 7 days. Menstruation comes from the Latin word mensis, which means month, and the Greek word mene, which means moon. Many cultures believed that women's menstrual cycle was closely related to the changing phases of the moon, and thus it was given the name moon blood. Now, the moon was believed to hold mystical powers, with full moons bringing in high energy that was believed to have a direct impact on human beings. This is where the term lunacy comes from, as many believed there was a direct correlation between crazy behavior and the changing phases of the moon. But I mean, really, this was just people going out during the full moon because of the abundant light, getting super drunk and filling the streets with their drunk, crazy behavior. A red moon cycle is when bleeding coincides with the full moon, and it represents the energy of self-actualization, while a white moon cycle is when bleeding coincides with a new moon, and it represents the release of old energy, giving room for new desires to spring into being. Symbolically, moon blood represented a big aspect of womanhood, from the pain, turmoil, and discomfort, from the change in hormones, the acne, the mood swings, the PMS, and all other that come with menstruation. Moon blood represented the end of an era, the end of a cycle, the storm before the calm, the welcoming of a new phase. Of course, it's also the best way to know that you are not pregnant. Early uses of moon blood traces back to several different cultures, and it all ties back down to its significance and its symbolism. Now, moon blood tends to have a different consistency and color from regular blood. Not that regular blood would be easier to hide, but women had to find creative ways to camouflage their moon blood so that they could feed it to their targets. Typically, moon blood would be mixed in with red wine, red or dark-colored foods and soups, and this was in the ancient times, but there's still people who practice this today. In fact, there's many places where men are warned not to eat food from women who are not in their family, and that's where our saucy spaghetti comes in. I mean, it's kind of obvious, but also the last thing on your mind is that someone has mixed in their menstrual blood with your food. We see this explored in Ari Aster's folk horror film Midsummer, that follows a dysfunctional couple and a group of friends who travel to Sweden for the Midsummer festival but get caught up in sinister Scandinavian pagan practices. One of the characters, Maya, a young Swedish girl who was ready to mate, has her eyes set on Christian, one of the foreigners that visited their commune. Without his knowledge, she feeds him her pubic hair in his food with the intent to make him fall for her so she could conceive a child with him. This was also foreshadowed in the tapestry, where the murals depicted the full ritual. First, the virgin, in this case Maya, identifies the foreigner with whom she wants to bear a child with. Now, the ritual was skinned on foreigners as they wanted to breed with someone from outside their commune to reduce the cases of incest. Next, the virgin then collects a specific set of flowers, then proceeds to walk backwards to the chosen man and offers them to him. Later on at night, while she rests, she has erotic dreams about him and then waits for the cock to crow at dawn. She then uses her pubes to prepare food for the desired man, and pee, sweat, or menstrual blood can be used in his drinks. After consuming her goods, the spell is complete and the man is bound to her. They can then go on to mate so she can bear a child as per the ritual. And of course, everything worked out as planned. Now, Paganism is a deep topic, and keeping in mind the fact that most accounts on old pagan practices weren't preserved, along with the fact that modern religion wiped paganism out, there's a lot of information that remains unknown or is narrowed down to myths and stories. One of the few written accounts that sheds light on blood rituals in ancient Europe comes from the 10th century. From the year 1000 to 1025, Burchard served as a bishop of the city of Worms in the Holy Roman Empire. During his time, he wrote Decretum, a canon law collection of 20 books that contains different subjects from church orders, sacraments, and marriage. The 19th book talks on medieval Europe, especially penitentials regarding magic and folk rituals. A penitential is a set of confessional literature compiled by clergymen used as a guide to the theory and application of confession in the Catholic Church. The book is formatted in question and answer format, where the priest asked the penitent questions, then recorded the answers. Some of the questions were: have you done what some women do? They take their menstrual blood, mix it into food or drink, and give it to their men to eat or drink to make them love them more. If you have done this, you should do 5 years of penance on the appointed fast days. Have you done what some women do? They take a live fish and put it in their vagina, keeping it there for a while until it is dead. Then they cook or roast it and give it to their husbands to eat, doing this in order to make men be more ardent in their love for them. If you have, you should do 2 years of penance on the appointed fast days. Have you done what some women are accustomed to do? They lie face down on the ground, uncover their buttocks, and tell someone to make bread on their naked buttocks. When they have cooked it, they give it to their husbands to eat. They do this to make them more ardent in their love for them. If you have, you should do 2 years of penance on the appointed fast days, using that cake to make that bread. Have you done what some women do? They take off their clothes and smear honey all over their naked body. With the honey on their body, they roll themselves back and forth over wheat on a sheet spread on the ground. They carefully collect all the grains of wheat sticking on their moist body, put them all in a mill, turn the mill in the opposite direction of the sun, grind the wheat into flour, and bake bread from it. Then they serve it to their husbands to eat, who then grow weak and die. If you have, you should do penance for 40 days on bread and water. Going back to the bloody spell, this liquid release from the depths within that when ingested binds you to the very source had become a staple secretly used by women to attract and keep mates.